The Eye of Providence, or the all-seeing eye of God, is a symbol showing an eye often surrounded by rays of light, or a type of glory, and usually is enclosed by a triangle. It represents the eye of God watching over mankind, or divine providence. We see it on our money, and it's closely associated with secret societies. But what really does the all-seeing eye of providence represent? Why is it encased inside of a triangle with rays of light coming out of it? Why is it often put on top of a pyramid? And why do we see it in Catholic churches? That question has boggled my mind for a number of years, but I think I may have found the answer. So let's get started. The most logical place to look, since we find the symbol in churches, would be the Bible. So let's check out the book of Joshua in the Old Testament. The book of Joshua starts off with Moses' death. Moses, who led the Israelites out of bondage from Egypt. And keep in mind, Moses died when he was 120 years old. So after the death of Moses, God calls on Joshua to lead the Israelites across the Jordan River and take possession of the Promised Land. God guarantees victory in the military campaign and vows never to leave the Israelites so long as they obey his laws. The people swear their allegiance to Joshua, and he sends 2 spies across the river to investigate the territory. The Israelites then cross the river Jordan, led by a team of priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant. As the priests enter the water, the flow of the river stops and the Israelites cross the river on dry land. Arriving on the other side, the Israelites commemorate the miracle with an altar of 12 stones from the riverbed, representing the 12 tribes of Israel. Joshua received divine instructions on how to defeat the Canaanites. It's described in Joshua 6. Now the gates of Jericho were tightly shut because the people were afraid of the Israelites. No one was allowed to go in or out. But the Lord said to Joshua, I have given you Jericho, its king, and all its strong warriors. You and your fighting men should march around the town once a day for 6 days. 7 priests will walk ahead of the ark, each man carrying a ram's horn. On the 7th day, you are to march around the town 7 times, with the priests blowing their horns. When you hear the priests give one long blast on the ram's horns, have all the people shout as loud as they can. Then the walls of the town will collapse and the people can charge straight into the town. There have been many archaeologists and researchers go to Jericho to find proof of what the Bible says. There are differing stories, but bottom line is that the wall has been found and it was knocked down. So what does this story have to do with the all-seeing eye and the pyramid? For starters, Jericho is located less than 300 miles from the Great Pyramid of Giza. Also, the Ark of the Covenant is a type of a battery, a weapon that is used in the book of Joshua. This weapon is a natural implosion type of weapon that is used with the elements of the earth to create it. To get an idea of how this works, let's go to the pyramids and learn the truth about the pyramids.
Orthodox Egyptologists insist that the pyramids were tombs.
Of all of the wild theories floating around the pyramids, the actual wildest is the one that's accepted without question by all Egyptologists, which is that the pyramids served as tombs.
Hakim Awiyan is an indigenous wisdom keeper who was born in the village of Abu Sir. He trained in Europe as an archaeologist. Hakim lived his whole life in the area known as the Band of Peace. The Giza Plateau was his front yard.
1936-37, the Sphinx then was covered with sand up to the neck. And there was my playing yard. There are tunnels. I used to walk in these tunnels. In water, I used to crawl sometime because it's narrow.
We call these constructions at that area in Dakshur related to king called Senefru. When you come to the word Senefru, Sin means double, Nefer is harmony, so it's double harmony. It's not a name of a person, but it's the energy we get from these constructions.
Let's consider that the pyramid sites along the Band of Peace are sophisticated harmonic structures. It seems that the chambers in the pyramids were harmonically tuned to different frequencies or musical tones.
The big pyramid, it has two chambers for two different sounds.
Each chamber in each pyramid, then, could be exemplifying sound technology with distinct tones, creating huge fields of harmonic resonance.
When we look in John chapter 1, could that be simply allegory when John is saying, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God," because clearly the spoken word is sound? Did the blowing of the trumpets, along with circling the walls of Jericho, create the frequency type of explosion, or implosion, if you will? Now we'll look at another element that was possibly used by the Israelites in Jericho.
What I do find fascinating is that the core of the pyramids, at least at Giza, are made out of one type of limestone. Now, it is the limestone that was closest, but it also happens to be the type that's called dolomite because it's got a high magnesium content. And because of that metal content, that kind of limestone conducts electricity pretty well. And then they chose to sheath the pyramid in the whiter Tura limestone, which, granted, it's whiter and it's prettier and all that, but it also has almost zero magnesium content. And therefore, it's a much poorer conductor of electricity. It's closer to a pure calcium carbonate, which is what all limestone is. And pure calcium carbonate conducts electricity much more poorly than dolomite does. It's interesting to me that those outer stones were the ones that they cut so precisely that all these thousands of years later you still can't get a razor blade between them. Because basically what we've got here is we've got a situation with a highly electrically conductive core of those pyramids wrapped in what is effectively a very effective insulator. Why the granite in the passageways, you know? And so, of course, I'm thinking from an electrical point of view and a physical point of view. Is there anything special about granite? And yeah, there is. Granite is slightly radioactive, and it will ionize or electrify the air. It releases radon gas, which is radioactive.
Granite is a transmission stone. It's not dead stone, it's alive.
So you have these sealed shafts with granite linings, and I wonder if it wasn't designed to keep an electrical charge present in those shafts. They were built exactly like, if you will, an insulated wire, only more so because you've got all the charge in the ground that's spread across the base, concentrated all the way up into this tiny spot at the top.
When the Israelites stacked the 12 stones after crossing the River Jordan, could they have been granite? Could they have been already ionized with the charge? Could it be possible that the Israelites stacked the stones in front of the river to prevent the Canaanites from crossing back over into safety? Let's check out some other elements and how they work with this theory.
In Egypt, you do have a similar situation to England in that you have limestone aquifers under the monuments.
An aquifer is an underground layer of porous, water-bearing rock. Water flows through the aquifers as rainfall, or when rivers and lakes flood, the water drains into them.
And movement of water through limestone or chalk aquifers is known to produce electrical charge by two different processes that are self-reinforcing. And I've personally measured this for a week at a stretch at Silbury Hill in England, for example. Before and after thunderstorms, as the water is sinking into the ground, we measured the increase in ground current, the change in the magnetic field as that happened, etc. And in Egypt, you had the Nile crashing, dropping every year and then flooding again. and that movement of water up and down through the layers of limestone would generate electrical charge. Flowing water generates at least a mild electrical charge, which means it generates an electric current, which means it generates a magnetic field as well. So if you were looking to give an electrical charge, a little boost to, say, a mound or something like that, it makes a lot of sense to have it at a minimum running water.
It just happens that Jericho is a virtual oasis, and its eastern side is punctuated by springs fed by aquifers in the Jordan Hills, and that provides an oasis along the valley. Could this crucial element of aquifers under this ground help the Israelites to gain Jericho by using the Ark of the Covenant? Let's see if there are other examples of this type of technology being used in the past.
Nikola Tesla sought to provide the world with free wireless electricity for everybody on Earth. He discovered that electricity occurred naturally throughout the Earth's atmosphere and ground. The telluric currents in the ground that John Burke discussed, and the electricity present in the ionosphere in the atmosphere, which is ionized by the sun. He also created and developed ways to harness those energies.
Tesla, who teach Nikola Tesla to get to that power of electricity? And he didn't invent it, it's already there, but he know how to use it. And not only that, he did not take an advantage like Mr. Edison.
Tesla wanted to harness the natural energy that exists everywhere on Earth and make it free to the public. Edison endeavored to produce and distribute electricity by creating a regulated monopoly for profit. Between 1901 and 1917, the Tesla Tower was built on Long Island as a wireless broadcasting system for telephone and electrical signals. Interestingly, it was constructed on an aquifer with descending passageways and tunnels beneath it. At the time, few understood how it worked. Tesla's funding was ultimately dropped by J.P. Morgan because Tesla wanted the wireless electricity to be free, and therefore J.P. Morgan couldn't make a profit.
Another example of this type of technology, in my opinion, would be Coral Castle. This huge castle was built by a man that barely weighed 100 pounds, and he was just over 5 feet tall. He built it by himself. He did his building in the dark so no one could see him. At one point, I believe he said that he used ancient technology that he read in many books. Some people refer to it as earth energies.
The energy to create free wireless energy has always existed on our planet and still exists today.
And it's not the only energy on our planet, there are plenty. The rivers are flow by energy. Tsunami is energy. Frequencies are energy. If we have the electricity now, it's based on explosion energy. Now, the sound energy based on a technology different from the explosion energy, and it's known as implosion energy. Implosion energy, very simple. All what you need is the beam of the sun on a running water. Not just running in a straight line, but in a zigzag. And that's, you find all the tunnels are in a zigzag form for such a purpose.
In addition to the limestone aquifers underneath the pyramids, there is evidence of a network of man-made tunnels.
Now this costs nothing. I mean, all what you need is a beam of the sun reaching the running water underneath the tunnel, and you can see that there are many openers in each tunnel permit this sun beam reach the water. And when it does, then the energy is there. Energy is not just to run your car, or it's run the people, feed the people.
There seems to be also an amazing correlation between the coffer in the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid of Giza and the Ark of the Covenant. The volume capacity or cubic capacity of the coffer in the king's chamber is exactly the same volume to the Ark of the Covenant as described in the Bible. The Bible describes the ark as being constructed of acacia wood, known to the Egyptians as the tree of life, and an important plant in traditional medicine containing many psychoactive alkaloids. Could this tree of life be what's referred to in our Bible in the book of Genesis as the tree of knowledge? In Exodus, Moses was given instructions on building the Ark of the Covenant. Nikola Tesla wrote in the Wall of Light that Moses had to have been a skilled electrical engineer. The ark, Tesla concluded, was a very powerful condenser. It created intense vibrations that could smash solid stone. Could it be possible that the Ark of the Covenant was originally created in the Great Pyramid of Giza, then transported to Jerusalem in Solomon's temple, where it was housed? The ark would then be placed in the Holy of Holies so that the end of the carrying poles touched the veil separating the two compartments of the tabernacle. That's in 1 Kings 8:8. Could the ark have been hidden later on underneath the Temple Mount? Would that be the reason for the Knights Templars being deployed to protect the pilgrims, when in reality they were looking for the Ark of the Covenant the whole time? Now let's see if we can discover where the all-seeing eye comes from. I believe it comes from the Bible. According to the book of Joshua, an Israelite pillaged an ingot of gold, a quantity of silver, and a beautiful Babylonian garment from Jericho, when God explicitly gave the directive not to take anything that it is consecrated unto the Lord and to the Lord only. During one of the battles, the Israelites lost 35 lives. Joshua fell on his hands and knees and prayed and asked, why, God, has he forsaken him such as he did? The Lord told him that someone had stolen from him and taken booty from Jericho. The man was found by Joshua and they killed him. I believe that's where the all-seeing eye comes from.
In Egypt, there are 67 constructions all along the Nile like sails. And for those who has the eye, they can tell from the shape of that construction. The straight form of angles, that is a pyramid or a construction for energy, a plant for energy. That's what we have.
And I believe what the pyramid and other certain other structures were constructed for was to basically act as a kind of the equivalent of a street light. You know, if you're in a neighborhood that's maybe not the nicest neighborhood and it gets dark at night, you like to have bright lights go on. And that's effectively what the Great Pyramid was. Now, these were not lights that illuminated it so that people could see where they were going. It was basically a device, a generator for, if you will, broadcasting and transmitting throughout the planetary structure, a type of field which uplifted the entire humanity.
Could it be possible that if the pyramid was a working power plant at one time, that it would glow? Or possibly just the cap would glow? Would the power plant theory of the pyramids explain the precision of the blocks being built so tightly together that a razor blade could not be put in between them? Would it be possible that the vibrations of the pyramid could in effect meld the blocks together? If the pyramids did glow at one time, it would most certainly explain the biblical references to Satan masquerading as an angel of light. It seems that one of the secrets that the secret societies are holding is the secret of energy. And if this knowledge is withheld from the population, you would have total control over that population. To me, the all-seeing eye in the pyramid is nothing but a slap in the face to show people in a backhanded way that they're stupid. So the all-seeing eye comes from the book of Jacob. The triangle that surrounds the eye is the pyramid, the Great Pyramid of Giza. And the rays that are coming out from the pyramid is light. Light from the power plant. It makes perfect sense to me. Tell me what you think about this. Thanks for watching. This is Call of Duty Goddess signing off, and as always, I've got your 6.